Hi everyone, Nick here. Today we're looking at this week's F1 2019 weekly event. Now, because there isn't actually a Formula 1 race this weekend, Codemasters had a free pick of any track to use, and they picked Bahrain. Why? Of all the tracks you could pick, Bahrain. Just why? I don't know. But anyway, this week's weekly event is actually a featured event. So what is a featured event? According to the nicely timed text on the screen, it's a specially curated solo race scenario. So basically what you do in esports, you get put in a car, you have some laps to do something, and you get a score at the end of it. So makes sense. In this case, you're at Bahrain, your objective is to win the race, and you are Charles Leclerc. So in real life, this didn't quite go to plan. So our mission here is to succeed where Charles Leclerc failed and win the 2019 Bahrain Grand Prix. So no assists as per usual. In terms of the AI difficulty, Bahrain isn't one of my strongest tracks, and I mean that completely. It's really not very good for me, and I'm led to believe AI here are very, very quick. So I decided to slightly bottle it and go for 90. So there we go. The objective, win the race. That's it. I mean, you could have maybe come up with something a bit more interesting than that, maybe? I don't know. When I heard that this event was actually happening around Bahrain and that you were going to be driving the Ferrari as Leclerc, I assumed there would be some kind of scenario where you had a certain amount of laps left at the end and something had failed on your car and your objective was to still win the race. Maybe you'd have an ERS failure or a turbo failure or something like that. They would knock a few seconds off your lap times. But no, this is literally just win the race. Hamilton starts about 4 seconds behind you. Verstappen's a second or so behind him. And then you've got Bottas somewhere behind them. Not entirely sure how far behind he was. I never actually saw Bottas unless I'd spun or done something like that. He's not a factor in this race. But the only real factor is you've got to keep Hamilton and Verstappen behind. That said, there is actually another factor, and it's not the cars behind you, it's the cars in front of you. And obviously, as you're the leader, that means lapped cars. Now, as you've seen before on these races, sometimes the AI and being lapped can be a bit tricky and just unpredictable, like Stroll here, lifting off on the racing line. Thanks, Lance, that's cool. Why? Okay, so Giovinazzi isn't much better either. He decides to put off the track, but then doesn't. So again, don't know what he's up to there. Alex Albon, having a great first season in Formula 1. Let's see what he does here. He decides, parking it on the apex, that's definitely the best thing to do. And the AI did like doing that, especially on the last corner. They just park on the apex and you kind of have to avoid them. And I just don't really know what they're playing at. I managed to set a score on the leaderboard with 90% difficulty, but it, as you can see on the screen, was rubbish. So I went bold, bumped it up to 95, and had another go. And this is that go. So we start on lap 50, so that means we have 8 laps to get to the finish and stay in the lead. Lap 1's objective is to get past Stroll ahead, so you can see him in the racing point a little way ahead of us. If you're doing well, if I was doing well anyway, then you could get through him in sector 3. Maybe going into the first corner after the DRS zone, so down here, but most likely on the penultimate straight, just before the final corner. And really, you need a little bit of luck in terms of where you actually catch the lapped cars, because if you catch them in a nice place, they'll just lift off and let you through. So here we catch Stroll. We're not close enough to him here, and now he's going to go, okay, I'm going to let you through. So he comes off the racing line and lifts off. That's probably about as good as you're going to get. The best you could possibly get is if you got DRS off of the AI car or something like that. That would obviously be very helpful. So a little bit of a sloppy final corner there. It's usually quite key to get a good exit from there because you want to be nice and fast down the pit straight. So we finished our first lap. We've got the fastest laps being set behind us, and Hamilton is 2.9 seconds adrift. So that's okay. They usually catch me on the first lap. I've still not managed to actually do a faster lap than they do. Doesn't matter what difficulty I've been on. So, hey ho. The objective for lap 2 of the scenario is to get ahead of Kvyat. Now, I don't know if it happened in the real race, I can't remember, but Kvyat's engine is going to blow up at the end of this lap. So, him being an obstacle in terms of getting in the way shouldn't really be too bad. He's going to be dead in a minute. Well, his car is anyway. So that's not too bad. We just want to get past him at the right time. So you don't, again, want to get stuck behind him. I mean, if you get stuck through the middle of Sector 2 behind an AI car, that can be disastrous because they'll hold you up. Or if you're particularly unlucky, they'll just brake in front of you thinking, I'll let you through. But I'm also going to assume you're psychic and can move out of the way. You know what the AI is like on this game when it comes to being lapped. So we managed to catch Kvyat, but not quite as early as we managed to catch Stroll on the previous lap. That's not a bad thing though, because he's going to give us a little bit of a tow into the final corner, and then down the pit straight he's going to give a DRS, not before letting us through and then appearing to then come back onto the racing line again. Careful there, Daniel. Anyway, he's about to blow up just behind us. It's going to be all sorts of spectacular, and there you can see there's a yellow flag for that. And we start lap 52 with a decent sized buffer behind us. Now, in terms of what we've been using engine-wise, as soon as this scenario starts, I put it straight onto rich fuel. It seems to be a bit of a theme for me with these featured events or esports events, in that they give you a decent amount of fuel to play with, and I just want to get rid of it as soon as possible. So I'll use it to try and build a buffer if I've got cars chasing me from behind, or to catch the cars ahead of me if I'm trying to catch them. You don't usually get a huge amount of ERS to play with though. So on this one I can't remember, you start off on about 40 something percent, and weirdly it actually starts you off on hot lap mode, which if you weren't to notice that, you could quite quickly burn through your ERS within, I don't know, half a lap, and then you've got nothing to play with. So on my first lap I always go with high ERS the whole way round, and then after that I'll be high down the straights, and through almost all of Sector 2 and some of the corners I'll either go down into medium or into low, depending on how much I've got. So when it looks like I'm running low, I'll go low, and then if I've got a bit of it I'll go to medium. That's the plan anyway. Sometimes if we think it's worth it, I'll just keep it on high a little bit longer and get that overtake or that optimal bit of time down the straight done. So start of lap 53, and we've got a 3.6 lead over Hamilton. And the thing I was actually quite pleased about on this was that my first 3 laps, I think the first 3 laps anyway, were all faster than my previous laps. I was constantly chipping away at my previous personal best lap. Still not the fastest lap of the race, mine, but it showed that my pace was still ramping up, which as my tyres were wearing and as I was actually using less and less ERS, is interesting. However, you'll notice that we've now started to catch another couple of back markers. So we've got Giovinazzi in front of us and then Albon in front of him. They're the last 2 that we're going to be bothered about. So Giovinazzi decides to go very, very wide into turn 10. That's taking it to the extremes, but I'd much rather he goes wide and just lets me go through on the inside and stays there than trying to mess around and, I don't know, cut the corner or just block me. So that was quite lucky. And we've got Albon ahead. He's not too far ahead of us, so he's probably not going to give us DRS or anything like that down the pit straight, but we need to keep an eye on him. We also need to keep an eye behind, because Verstappen is now the car who's behind us, and he's only 2.6 seconds behind at this point. And his pace towards the end of the race does seem to be really good here. I don't know if he's got more fuel available or fresher tyres or something like that, but he seems to have the pace on Hamilton. The thing that does help you though is that Hamilton doesn't just let him go through, and you see in the top left hand corner Hamilton and Verstappen will swap places pretty much constantly throughout this race, which helps me out because if they're busy battling themselves, they're not battling me, and they're not going to be going as fast as they could if they're having a fight with each other. So that helps me out greatly. Now you may have noticed by this point I've actually turned the fuel mode down to standard, and that's because I want to keep a little bit of it in my pocket towards the end. I don't want to get to the position where I'm going down on the straight to start my last lap and I've got no way to defend from Hamilton or Verstappen, whoever happens to be attacking me. So we're going to keep it on standard for a little bit so we can save it up for the last lap or two, just in case we need it. In terms of the car ahead, Albon is a little bit ahead of us, not to the point where he's probably going to be starting to block us, but usually through this section it's not the best idea to be following a car, because sometimes they just decide, you know what, I'm going to slow down, and he does that, so he's left the door open on the inside. That's probably about as polite as you're going to get from the AI, and I think from this particular run, the 4 AI cars being lapped were about as good as you're going to get. Sometimes they can be very, very bad and ruin your run, as I showed you before. So, start of lap 55. Our pace is dropping off a little bit. We've got Verstappen 2.4 seconds and Hamilton just 600ths of a second behind him. So they're having a right old ding dong behind me. Verstappen at the moment is just about holding on. As I say that, of course Hamilton instantly overtakes him. They are of course going to have to get through Albon as well. And of course everything I've said about back markers also applies to my 2 rivals behind. I've had runs on this before where the back markers have completely wiped out the AI before. In fact, I did have that on one of my races where I can't remember if it was Hamilton or Verstappen or not, but they just got completely shunted into the wall, and that was perfect for me, except I got overexcited and then shunted myself into a wall. And you can see behind on the map that they're just coming to overtake Albon, but Hamilton's going to go wide there. And if we watch the replay from Hamilton's point of view, you can see that he lines Albon up to lap him, decides to go around the outside, but gets bumped wide by him. Bit naughty there, Alex, but it does help his kind of stable mate Verstappen get through in his Red Bull. Nice play there from the Red Bull / Toro Rosso boys. Anyway, that means that the only person we have to watch out for behind us is now Verstappen. On the downside, it does also mean that Verstappen doesn't have Hamilton harassing him and slowing him down, so it now is just a straight fight between me and Max. He's 3.5 seconds off the back of me. We've got 2 laps and a bit of a straight to go, so at this point I was fairly confident. I mean, I'm not good at this track, but even I should be able to hold off Verstappen when I've got a 3-second advantage over him with 2 laps to go, and I've even got 0.4 laps of fuel up my sleeve as well, so if I need to use that, I can just bust that out. Easy peasy. But of course it's never quite as easy as that, because my tyres have started to go off, I've got a car that's very fast behind me, and when we finish sector 1 you can see that I've lost 3 tenths against my personal best. Verstappen's already taken a 10th out of me, and generally it's the second sector where I struggle around this track, particularly turn 10. If you haven't driven turn 10 without ABS on, you'll know how evil it is. Even if you've only got 50% of the brakes on, you tend to lock up. So you kind of have to, I don't know, it's weird, you kind of almost have to turn right a bit, or not as left as you think, to try and keep it as straight as possible in the braking zone, and then once you've got it slowed down, then you sweep left and get the job done. Anyway, we just finished sector 2 and we're only 0.2 seconds off of our personal best, but Verstappen has taken about that much out of us over that part of the lap. So heading through the last corner, this might be a little bit closer than we thought. We tried to get on the accelerator really early there, and there's a little bit of wobble under acceleration. Half a second off our best, Verstappen's taken another 3 tenths out of us. So definitely time to use that fuel we had in reserve and make sure that we push for the rest of the lap. Of course, one of the good things is that Bahrain has 2, maybe 3 at a push, really good overtaking options, all of them DRS assisted. And by the time we turn through, I guess that's turn 4, by the time we've gone through that, we've already done 2 of them. So even though Verstappen's only 1.5 seconds behind us now, realistically, unless we make a silly mistake, where is he going to get through? We shouldn't get done down, where is it, the back straight? the next straight anyway, the straight that we're just coming onto here. Yeah, he's going to have DRS almost certainly behind us now, but we've got high ERS, rich fuel. He shouldn't be out braking us into there. It's not a heavy braking zone. And as we go through these S's, make sure we avoid the curb of death on the right hand side. And we've only got 2 more corners to survive. Verstappen is now half a second off. We've got arrows indicating that he's now quite close to us behind. We can see in the rear view that he's very close. So 1 more corner to survive. Get through here. A little bit more curb on the inside than I'd like. Some very solid looking arrows. He's got the slipstream. He's got the DRS. But it's too little too late. And we cross the line to win the Bahrain Grand Prix. And that's how it's done when your Ferrari does not break down on you. Well played. So there you go. We actually won the race by 55 thousandths of a second. And that was much improved. As you see on the right hand side, that was good enough for 388th place in the world. And we're just about 30,000 points off the top. And we're in the top 3%. So that's much more respectable. And you can actually see that, weirdly, everyone around me on the leaderboard has done it on a much higher AI level. But because we didn't use any assists and we had a completely clean race, our score ended up being much higher than it would normally have been against AI of that difficulty. So, yeah, not too bad. Imagine what I'd be like if I could actually do it against higher and more difficult AI. I'd be, I don't know, bothering the top 200 or something. Whoa, let's not get crazy though. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, then don't forget to hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, then go click the button. You know it makes sense, and is also massively appreciated. And let me know in the comments below what you made of this particular scenario. Did you manage to beat the AI? Have you had a go at it? How did you get on? Let me know where you are on the leaderboard. Really like to hear from you to see how you're all doing. But until next time, and the next video, goodbye.